Hello there, listener. If you've clicked on this first episode of my brand new podcast, you're already doing yourself a favor in improving your relationship with your mental health. My name is Kissy Sensei, and I originally started my journey on Twitch streaming about a year ago in December of 2021. After COVID had ravaged the entire world for almost the past 3 years, I decided that I would pick up streaming as a way to connect with my friends and to give myself something to do to pass through the days of monotonous boredom. And it blossomed into something I never would have imagined it ever could before. I consider myself to be very blessed to be in the position that I am, and I figured let me continue to spread my love of mental health to as many people and listeners as I possibly can. So starting a podcast seemed like the best way to do so. It's received much backing from many people from my community and in my social circles. So I figured, why the heck not? So let's dive right in and give you a little taste of why you should even bother listening to this podcast in the first place. First episodes are kind of difficult to navigate through as you try to figure out exactly how you should start your podcast and what you should talk about. But I am here to tell you that this is really going to be an introduction to who I am, who is Kissy Sensei, why should you bother listening, and what I have to offer so that you guys can get a little bit of a better feel for the type of person that you are going to be listening to if you choose to continue to tune in to the next few episodes of my podcast. So sit tight, get yourself a nice drink, alcoholic or not, I'm not judging, and welcome to my podcast. This is the part where I welcome you back. Hope you had a nice time listening to my little intro. Made it myself. Very proud of it. I like to keep things as neutral and natural as possible. And so this is, for the most part, going to be unedited, with the exception of taking out some mistakes and stutters and bloopers and whatnot. But I like to give myself over to people in the most raw way that I possibly can. And so I figured my podcast should reflect that as well. Let me give you a little bit of a background on me. As I stated before, my name is Kissy Sensei, but my real name is Christina. And I started my journey into mental health many, many years ago in originally understanding what was mental health, why was it making the rounds all throughout my generation, and why was it so buried in the generations before me. And I became obsessed with mental health. Way back, probably in 2015, I would say. But even as a kid, I was somebody who was considered to be very empathetic, very caring, understanding of people, and non-judgmental, although I wasn't always that way. When I was a lot younger, I was raised to never judge other people and to never think of myself as above anybody else. But when you're a kid, and sometimes a teenager, you become very self-absorbed, and you tend to lose sight of things like that. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I was perfect and followed the straight line, walked the narrow path my entire life, because I absolutely slipped up and made mistakes, but I learned from them. And my love of mental health grew from the various lessons I picked up from people along my journey throughout these last 31 years of my life. And those people came into my life, taught me lessons. Some of them stayed, some of them didn't. But along the way, I learned so much and figured, why should I keep all this knowledge to myself? I really should spread it, teach it, speak it, dictate it to anyone who was willing to listen. I am a cosplayer. I'm a Twitch streamer. I'm a gamer. I am a full-time pediatric nurse. I am a sister, a lover, a dog mom, and a dedicated daughter, granddaughter, and niece to my family. I'm a lot of different things, but if we sat here and started picking each and every one of them out, we'd be here for quite a while. And I don't think you guys really have the time for that. So let's just zero in on some things. I originally picked up Twitch streaming sometime in 2020 when COVID had ravaged the entire world and made it impossible for anybody to go outside without a fear of dying. And I wanted to play The Last of Us, the video game, for the very first time. And I had two friends who were extremely invested in watching me play and seeing my reactions to it. And so one of them suggested Twitch streaming to me, which I was vaguely familiar with, but had never dived into before. And so I decided to set up an account, and it was very crude, not very personalized. It was really only there for the purpose of streaming to those two friends. But somewhere along the way, some other people started to pay attention. And some of my other friends wanted to join in as well and watch me play. And so they did. And I started to amass this teeny tiny little community. I think at that point I had about 40-something people that were watching me. And I continued doing this until early 2021 when I got into nursing school in March. Once that happened, I stopped streaming because I wanted to dedicate myself to school. And I wanted to make sure that I was completely focused on that. So I continued doing that until December of 2021. And during that time, I had thought so much about streaming, and I thought about returning to it, but I wasn't sure when, I wasn't sure how. There was so much that I was intimidated by. And so in the middle of December, when I was just finishing up my second to last semester of my nursing program, I decided to take the dive again, pick it back up. And I had since beaten The Last of Us off stream, and I was interested in starting Resident Evil 7, which was the newest thing at the time. And I decided to start playing it. And slowly, but surely, this community started to build. More people started to show up. People that hadn't showed up before. People that I didn't know. And I originally started streaming on my PlayStation with no camera and a crappy headset microphone that honestly really did not have the best quality at all. But over time, the same handful of people kept showing up, and I kept streaming. I kept doing it whenever I had free time. I was quite literally obsessed with it. And then all of a sudden, I hit affiliate. And I had no idea what that was. I got the email out of nowhere. I didn't even know it was a thing. And when I hit affiliate, everybody told me it was a big deal. So I said, okay. So I looked into it. And earlier this year in January, I set up a camera and I got a new microphone for Christmas. And I decided I was going to really start devoting myself to figuring out how to stream and figuring out what I was going to do with this little corner of the internet that I had found myself in. And all of a sudden, things just took off from there. I started learning. I started growing. And I don't exactly remember when. I'm pretty sure I could go back and double check. But somewhere along the way, I started something called the Sunday Reset. And in my mind, a Sunday Reset for me had always been a routine that I did on Sundays, where sometimes it involved cleaning my house, sometimes it involved doing some laundry, sometimes it involved self-care, where I would just sit down, relax from the week, not do anything that consisted of adult responsibilities, and just be. And so I said, man, I wonder if I could stream something similar to the Sunday Reset. But obviously nobody wants to watch me clean my house or fold my laundry or just sit around eating snacks and binge watching Netflix. So I took the concept and I thought about, why do I enjoy my Sunday resets so much? And it was because it was a way for me to reset myself at the end of the week and prepare myself for the week ahead. And it gave me time to clear out all the bad from the week, whatever bad had happened, and enter into the new week with positivity and a better mindset. And so I said, okay, let's take that concept and put it to a stream. Let's make it a thing. Let's make it a series. Let's do it every Sunday. And so at first, I was super nervous about it. And then all of a sudden, it took off like lightning. My Sunday resets are probably the more popular of my stream segments that I do. And so many people started pouring themselves into the Sunday reset. They looked forward to it. They bookmarked it in their calendars. They set reminders and timers on their phones so that they wouldn't forget to show up. And now the Sunday reset has grown into the concept for this podcast. Mental health is so incredibly important to me. And as a woman in healthcare, I am very, very adamant about health and medicine, but also the wellness of both the mind and the body. And so the Sunday reset really speaks to me. And I figured if we did this podcast with the same energy that we started the Sunday reset with, then bam, like magic, it'll change your life. So many people have come to me and told me that the Sunday reset really gives them something to look forward to each week. And it gives them something to really think about and lessons to take with them. It changes their mindsets. It changes their perspectives. And I never in my wildest dreams would have thought that I could ever have that type of impact on people on Twitch who are just tuning in to listen. It has been a life-changing experience. And so I figured, let's bring it over for a podcast for people who can't make the Sunday resets, but they still would like to have the lessons and the energy brought to them. And I figure it was also more streamlined because in Twitch, I have to deal with things like alerts, follows, raids, talking to chat. Here, it's a little bit more streamlined. I get to just talk, and you guys get to listen, as entertaining as that may be. I don't really have much else to deliver at this point. I don't really want the first episode to be super long. So I will leave you with this. I'm very excited to see where the rest of this podcast goes. I'm very thrilled to be able to find myself in a position where I can do this and I can create something great and teach people how wonderful it is to really pay attention to your own mental health and to invest in the health of your mind and your body and your spirit as a whole, like holistic medicine. I thank you all so much for listening in the first place, and I hope you get something from these next few episodes, and I hope you continue to come back for more, because I will be making more. If you have any suggestions for any type of topics that you'd like me to cover, you can go to my email, kissysenseidesigns@gmail.com, and I will consider. And as always, you can catch me on Twitch, Kissy Sensei with 2 eyes. I try to go do the Sunday reset every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But if not, you can catch the podcast, which will hopefully be releasing every week. Thanks again. Take my love and my light with you. Kiss your pets and your loved ones. And don't forget to stay sexy. That part's super important. Bye-bye now. Hi, loves. Just a quick little note. When I say this year in the episode, I'm actually speaking about the year 2022. The podcast episode was originally recorded in the beginning of December in 2022, and it is now presently 2023, so it sounds a little confusing when I reference it like that, but I do just want to clear that up, so I'm sorry for the confusion. It took me a little longer to edit it than I had anticipated originally, but here we are. I also wanted to give you just a couple of quick little updates that have happened since recording that episode. We have since hit 1,700 followers on Twitch, over 100 consistent subscribers on Twitch as of this morning,
And I was also nominated for Best Horror Streamer in an award show for Twitch. I did not end up winning, but that is totally fine because it was just an absolute dream to even be considered and recognized in the first place. I have also started doing interview-styled Sunday resets. We've done 3 so far, and they have been just as wildly successful as the solo segments are. And so that's kind of driving the idea to have guests featured on the podcast. I have a Google form that I will be releasing the link to shortly after the episode is released, and you can fill it out if you have an interest in being a featured guest speaker on the podcast. You have to be comfortable speaking about mental health, of course, but if you fill it out, please know that all applications will be reviewed extensively, and if you are not chosen for the first season, do not worry. There are going to be additional seasons, at least that is my hope, so you can always be considered for upcoming seasons. I just wanted to continue to express my undying gratitude, my everlasting love for all of you, for all of your support. Please know it means the world to me, and it just gives me so much joy to be able to do stuff like this for all of you. So thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you all in the next episode. Bye-bye.